What I was trying to say is sometimes when, like sometimes your kids will ask you a question that you're just like, like, hey, dad, hey, dad, hey, dad.
Yeah, 24/7.
Like 24/7, but also like it's like an answer you've already given them. My favorite thing to do is to essentially answer them like I'm Mario. It gets them real annoyed. So they'll be like, hey, Dad, can I do this now? What?
What?
Dude, they get so...
It's a Mario.
And basically you never, like, you let them explain it again.
And then
you go... You're like squinting your eyes. You're like, oh yeah, I understand now, kind of thing. Like your body language is telling them that, and then after they're done, you pause for a little bit, and then you go, what? Oh man, they love it. I've experimented with doing that to Anne here and there. Not don't recommend it.
Yeah, my kids are for some reason are like obsessed with. And I don't. It's like I'm happy that they're like into this, but for some odd reason, they're like obsessed with hearing like stories. So like if I'm talking to Courtney and I'm like, yeah, and then the guy was kind of a jerk, and he said, and it's like, Dad, tell us, Dad, and I'm like, nothing happened. There was a guy that was just an asshole at the bank that I'm telling your mom about. But they like love the retelling of like. Stories.
Yeah. They want to be like a part of it.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
They want to be like, oh, what's going on? It's like they want to process all the information, dude. It's it's a good thing.
And then Ellie just like, I'll tell her the whole thing, and then
she just looks at you and goes, what?
Dude, last night, man, I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to record today because God, I just had like such a horrible migraine. It came out of nowhere. Like 99% of my migraines come out of like like they wake me up, at like 3, 4, 5 in the morning.
God, that sounds terrible, dude.
Dude, it's awful. But that's how I get them, which is weird because that's like a real rare thing. Like everything I've looked up is like, no, that never happens.
Of course you have. You know what it is, dude? Is that freaking Alpha Brain.
I don't take the Alpha Brain anymore, my friend. Here, look. You know what?
It's just this concoction of vitamins that I take. I don't know why I get these weird, rare headaches.
Hey, you hear this, Woody? Ready? That's my vitamin drawer.
Good Lord. Dude, you're like a geriatric
Hold on, let me tell you what I got. Got vitamin E.
I don't want to hear it, man. No, I don't want to waste
borage oil.
I got vitamin E for skin.
Ooh, this is something that I do stand behind.
Stand behind.
Alpha Brain.
Look out, everybody.
Alpha Brain.
Look out, everybody. He's taking Alpha Brain and he stands behind it. Go ahead.
It's called Resp, and it's like Mediterranean.
Dude, I'm going to cut you off.
No,
right there.
Listen, I'm serious.
That is a made up.
No, I swear to God. A friend of mine told me about this stuff.
Is your friend tell me about this.
They're a licensed artist.
Okay.
No, but listen, you remember, and you can attest to this, when I was younger in the band days, I had constant like sinus stuff. I feel like I had a sinus infection or strep throat. And then later on, I got my tonsils taken out, my adenoids taken out, a deviated septum in my nose fixed. And that really helped, but I was still getting like sinus stuff. It's just like, you know how like Thomas always had like tooth issues. Like people have
just airing it out, huh? What did I have, man? What can you stand behind? Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, That Would Be Rad. We're a podcast that majors in 80s and 90s nostalgia, comic culture, all things paranormal, and minors in retro video games, tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons, pre-internet mysteries, and trying to raise our kids to be just half as cool as we were back in the 80s. We are your hosts, Woody Brown
and Tyler Benz. Hey, I got a little bit of housekeeping up top here.
That's what I was going to say.
I know, and I already
got some things we need to talk about.
I know what you're going to talk about. You're going to throw me under the damn bus, and trust me, I got
to throw myself under the bus. People are already throwing me under the bus, making fun of me because I didn't know who the Deftones were.
And thank you, folks. Thank
What's
you.
the other band? Papa Roach? What was the one?
No, now that band sucks. I've never liked Papa Roach. And you can take that to the bank.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Housekeeping.
Couple things. Remember when we were talking about, well, first off, let me do the big one. The big just stupidity award. And I don't even know why I even said this, considering the fact that this song is literally maybe the single song that represents the 1980s for me. And that is Everybody Wants to Rule the World. What did I say on the thing?
On the episode, you said, everybody wants to
save the world. Jesus.
And it's one of those things, as I was listening back to the episode, it's just like, so...
I know. As soon as it came over for
immediately, I'm like,
the mixing stage, I was like, man, should I just sneak?
Is there, yeah, no.
I was
is there
real
any
close.
part of the episode where you say the word "a rule" that I can just splice it in? So it's like everybody wants to rule the world.
I really was like, man, I'm just about to just.
Well, hey, man, I'm not going to throw in. I also messed up on a song. Of course, mine just came out. It was that Caveman song that I was talking about. Yeah. I think I said "Never Coming Back," but the name of the song is actually "Never Going Back." So, look, man.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that. Yeah, but I'm look, people can be a little bit forgiving. They can give us a little grace here. I mean, look what we were working with. First off, I got a guy here, a clown, who basically shows up and just starts listing artists that remind. Like,
why are you still hung up on this bullshit? I literally had to preface, hey, here's four bands.
But you did it multiple times.
No, I said here's 4 bands and an album.
Then you just start listing songs that remind you of summer. Not the assignment.
What are you talking about? No. These are my summer songs.
It's not summer songs. It's road trips.
Okay, but when
doesn't know the assignment.
When do you think of road trip?
Well, summertime.
Thank you, pal.
No, I know. I'm just messing.
Okay, but I do got a little bit more housekeeping.
Go ahead.
And I knew, like, in my heart, I was like, because as you know, I'm a little OCD on things, that I was like, why do, like, this nagging feeling of like, okay, you remember how when you were talking about Coconut Records, which is Jason Schwartzman's band.
Yeah.
We started talking about these bands when like other members kind of do like sort of their like branch off bands, and some suck, but then like some are good and da-da-da-da. Well, you remember how when I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's something to do with like Julian Lennon with that album.
With Coconut Records. Yeah.
And you were like, nope, pretty sure it's not. And I was like, God, why am I feeling like that?
I don't think I said that. But
well, no, I think, well, maybe you got to cut out. But you were saying like, no. And I was like, man, I'm pretty sure Julian Lennon like did something, like maybe played something. Okay, what I totally forgot is another band / guy that made a little branch off band that was actually fantastic. And that's our own Albert Hammond Jr.
God, like, how do we?
And then that guy had Sean Lennon singing on the record. That's what I was thinking the whole time,
man.
But yeah,
dude, and like Albert Hammond Jr. Yeah, he has a song called "In Transit."
Right.
That obviously has to be on the freaking Road Trip soundtrack.
Exactly. Yeah. As soon as I was like, why am I thinking that? And then Albert Hammond popped up, and I was like, "Oh man!" And then I listened to the whole record. God, that first record is still amazing, dude. So good. Well, you know what? We kind of have a plan today, but I kind of want to throw a little wrench into it, and I just want to ask one single question.
Oh God, you're making me nervous.
And it could be a fast answer, or it could be like a 3-part answer, 3-episode answer, and that is, what is your opinion of ghosts?
Dude, you basically just said, what's your favorite song? No, what's my opinion of God? Okay.
Here's the thing. Before I even let you answer, I was just thinking the other day about like our history and how we, the other 2 guys in the band would always be in the back. They would always be the first to like fall asleep or whatever. And it would always end up being, not always, but most of the time, it would be you and I up front. And that's when we would have these very deep conversations that really meant a lot to me, and I'm sure they meant a lot
me too. Dude.
Really heavy, some heavy stuff, some like metaphysical, supernatural, that kind of thing. And I realized that as much as we've talked about like hauntings or like spooky stuff and like especially all the crazy topics with the podcast, I was just thinking, like, I don't know what Woody thinks. Like what is Woody?
Yeah, we haven't gotten into that on the show.
At all.
Boy, man.
So I know that you
kind of put me on the spot, but I like it.
Well, and I know I'm kind of derailing and throwing the plans that you had out the window for the time being.
Man, dude, hey, we've been best friends for like 20 years now. You think I'm not used to derailing plans that I have?
Yeah.
That's par for the course, bro. No, I like it.
Part of my charm.
But man, that is, charm, annoyance. It just depends on who you ask. But like
Thin line.
I just want to get this pencil to paper. Oh my God. No, dude, first off, let me just say that I would typically drive mainly, admittedly, just because of my own anxiety and it just being like a control issue. Yeah. I would drive the van.
I think you had a little fear, though. Well, you said anxiety.
Yeah, that's what I said, anxiety. Yeah. It's the same now, like on our road trip coming up, I'm going to be the driver. Like it's not that my wife is a bad driver. In fact, she's excellent. But I just get like freaked out by stuff and I can't just relax. And I can relax when I'm driving. So anyhow, all that to say, whenever you're driving, and I hate to keep on going back to like the road trip sort of theme here, but you got to have...
It's summer, man. Summer's for road trips.
It's summertime, man. It's, think of every song and every artist you can think of and then just...
But just admit it, though. Summer is sort of for road trips,
It is. Yeah, no, for sure, dude. But you got to have an excellent navigator. And I got to say, man, Tyler, you were like the best navigator of all time.
I appreciate that, Woody.
Of all time, dude. Sometimes really I'll get on the end. I'm like, babe, you got to be a navigator. And she'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. You're supposed to take a left back there. Now, that may or may not cause an argument, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, Courtney's the worst.
Let's dig into oh my gosh, dude. It's so funny. It's like we failed to teach them that aspect that we were just kind of used to. But anyhow.
Well, real quick, there's also one... I think what makes me such a great navigator is I have one trait that makes me shine among the rest, and that is
I can't wait.
I've never been able to fall asleep in the front seat, and so I'm never going to fall asleep. I'm going to be right there with you.
Yeah, man, dude, perfectly. Thank you, because that reminds me. Not only are you just excellent at maintaining the Rand McNally Road Atlas. And then that evolved into like the GPS and stuff like that, or reading off the MapQuest or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be like the
not only were you excellent at that, but yes, dude, you never fell asleep. And like some of those long drives, man, like I needed somebody up there. And sometimes you would switch out because you'd be like, boy, I just got to like, and I was like, no problem, dude.
Yeah.
You'd switch out with Boo Boo, and that's like would be like, all right, man, let's do this. You had like his fresh grape soda ready to rock and roll. Not even a minute later, dude, sucker is just passed out in the front seat. And I'm just like, okay, now.
Yeah. I can't sleep on planes either. And that's...
No, I can, dude. Oh,
I wish I
could sleep
could,
on a plane.
But
That's awesome.
I have to like lay down and be like comfy, and I can't do it.
Yeah, not me, dude. I just get a good movie going, get some Sour Patch Kids. It's just,
can't do it.
It's just perfect. Okay. Now, what do I think about ghosts? Oh, man. It's funny, dude. I think... if I'm thinking about it throughout life, it's kind of evolved. In fact, it's probably evolved even almost exponentially since we started this show, and we've kind of, at least talked about some haunting stories and stuff like that. Let me just make a real quick broad statement, and then I'll kind of fine tune it. The broad statement is, I think there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, same.
And I think it's elements of all of those things that people are seeing. And I love the idea of the sentimental, like, part of me really loves the idea, truthfully, that at some point, family members that have, or loved ones, best friends, whatever, who have passed away, have some sort of way of like looking down on us, watching us, seeing us succeed, maybe even like visiting us at some point. That sort of experience to me had, ever since I was a little kid, was never really like scary. I remember like whenever I was like super young, and you're just kind of like you're just like young enough to sort of understand that, you won't see physically grandma again for however long or whatever.
Which, by the way, being a parent makes that a real tough line to tightrope a real, wait, what's the analogy
A
I'm trying
real
to say?
tough line to tightrope walk down.
Like
You know, it's
a
like that
real
time of the
tough
dude,
tightrope to walk on.
Yeah, it's the alpha brain. See, what happens is you
It's
start
not
talking
out. I
like
stopped taking
Yoda.
it a while back. Give it a rest.
It's the oregano salts.
No, I'm dead serious, man. Oregano rasp is awesome.
Dude, I don't want to. We're not going to talk about it.
Mediterranean strands of oregano.
I like that.
No, I'm saying because like, you have kids and it's like, what is the age to sort of drop this on them that like, hey, eventually I'm going to be gone.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I know.
Or like
There's
Gigi's going to be gone or,
Yeah. Have you had the experience yet where your kids like just freak out in the middle of the night? They call you and then you're like, what? Like our youngest did this the other day and she's just like, I really don't want you and mom to die. And you're like, oh, man, it's so sad.
No,
dude.
but listen to this. And this ties in a little bit. And again, not to derail this derailment here, but I had it the other night. Amelia came. Amelia's my oldest. She's 7. She came and woke us up, which she rarely ever does. And boy, there's some real weird, like, video footage that I have.
Let's not speak it into existence.
It gets real weird. But she came in the room and, my wife was like, oh, baby, did you have a bad dream or da-da-da? First of all, it like freaked me out because I'm half asleep. Courtney always wakes up. She woke up first. And like, I look across the room and I just see, I guess Amelia had come in and shut the door behind her. And it's just like this little figure in the corner of the room. And like,
Whoa.
it was my daughter.
She's explaining this?
No. So I guess Amelia had showed up in the doorway. It had woken Courtney up. Courtney is like saying like, baby, what happened? Did you have a bad dream? Da, da, da. And Amelia had like shut the door behind her. So there wasn't like the light coming in.
Yeah.
So it's I'm not looking, I wasn't like woke up to the sight of like my daughter coming in the room. I guess she had already come in and shut the door behind her. So
and that's when you wake up.
Yeah, I woke up to see
God,
a dark little, 4-foot figure off at the doorway. So that was weird. But she says, and again, I think she was like half asleep. Maybe she said, my room got darker.
Oof.
We were like, did you have a bad dream? She was like, no, I didn't have a bad dream. I just got scared because my room got darker. And we were like, what? And then like, I kind of hate talking about this stuff because when it's like your house, there's something that I'm just so against. It's like, oh, if some other house is weird, haunted, whatever, like, cool, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
But when it's your own house, it's like you're like, no, that
you don't want to talk about it. That makes it real.
Yeah. So then, like, literally, probably 2 minutes later, we have like the little camera in my youngest's room. She's 3. She starts screaming, crying, and wakes up and says,
same night,
like 2 minutes apart. Says she had a bad dream, like freaking out. And so, we built our house. It's a new house, but,
unfortunately, you built it on a burial
ground. There you go, the Indian burial ground, for sure.
I guess maybe you should have had that guy that came into our city council meeting to kind of just
my dad,
see if he remembers hiking back there with his dad.
Cherokees.
My dad told me now. It's a Cherokee.
But anyway, sorry for derailing. So we're talking
dude,
about your youngest is having a bad dream about you guys dying. And go.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, that kind of gets back to heavy, but that's a difficult conversation to have and it's hard to navigate, but it's kind of an important one too, because the way I kind of, I guess, use it is like a tool to sort of show just, not to sound like, again, like a motivational podcast, but like, I think we can all kind of agree that there's so many moments like in our life that we have just wasted because we wasted it being mad about something stupid, or we treated the people around us that we love like crappy for no other reason other than we're just taking out our frustrations on them.
Hurt people
for whatever reason. Yeah, exactly. So like I kind of utilize that sort of talk surrounding like, hey, our time here is limited. And so why not like use it, always just kind of be I don't know, nice to one another.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of my kind of
Positive.
hippy dippy stuff. But
No.
but,
I agree with that.
dude, your story just now kind of reminded me. Do you remember? And I'm sure I've talked about this on the podcast, but I know that you and I have kind of talked about it. When my youngest, this is when she was just still like maybe 3,
yes.
and she was just like woke up in the middle of the night, and she's like, "I'm just so scared." And we're like, "Of what?" And she's like, "The skits." And we're like, what? I go back into my room and I'm just like, no, babe, it's okay, or whatever. She goes back to sleep. I go back into our room and I spend the rest of the night, didn't sleep. I'm just looking up like my Google search that night, I was like, what are skits?
Yeah.
I spelled it a million different ways. I was trying to find like, what in the heck is a skit? Anyways, terrifying. Okay, back to what I think.
Or you know what, like, not to like, so it doesn't feel so like...
Not to interrupt me after you ask me a question in the middle of my answer.
No.
I'm going to do it anyway.
I'm saying that's a pretty tough question to be presented. So like maybe walk us through like how you thought about it growing up versus how you think about it now, like since the podcast. And
yeah, okay, okay.
Scary movies.
Like I said, kind of, yeah, like growing up, I thought, even as like a young kid, especially when it comes to this stuff, and this is part of the reason why I don't watch those sort of like any kind of like hardcore like possession type scary
Exorcism
movies, just
stuff.
because I almost feel like those in a way are, for whatever reason, like scarier to me. I don't know. It's because like I think, and even as a young kid, I thought if there is an opportunity for a good spirit to come be near you or whatever, there's probably the same opportunity for a bad one to come around. And so it was like this weird sort of like teeter-totter or tug-of-war.
Tightrope walk, maybe even.
Yeah, tightrope walk between like, should I be scared of this stuff or should I just be like happy with this stuff? You know what I mean? And so like growing up, I never really knew kind of, I just kind of thought, well, I think it would be cool if like, or that would be rad if I could see, my loved one. And different members of my family have sort of different theories about that kind of stuff. Like there's one that my wife had heard a long time ago that if you see like a cardinal, then
oh my God, are you serious?
Loved one, huh?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead serious,
dude. We literally have this same belief and have this one cardinal that we call Crimson that shows up every day at our house.
Really? Like us, it's like my wife's grandma who passed away like a couple years ago at like she was like 102, 103 something. And
too long, by the way.
This dang,
too long, by the way.
No, dude. She didn't have like a painful old age. Dude. She was awesome.
That's good.
And she was like, think about her life, dude. So, anyways, we have this same belief, dude, of cardinals coming, and it's like a loved one. When Anne's stepdad passed away, it was like maybe a few years before our first child was born, and I think I may have said this on our show too. Like when Woodrow was a baby, he would always stare up at this one spot in his room, kind of up towards the ceiling. Like always, dude. We moved. Like at first I thought, oh, well, that's just where he's focusing when I'm changing the diaper. We moved and kind of rearranged his room at some point, and that sucker went out of his way to look at that same exact spot. Dude, there's nothing on the wall. There's no like hole in the wall. There's no like spot there. But he constantly was always focusing it. And so Anne and I would always kind of joke, well, that's probably her stepdad, Bill, kind of looking down on us and, saying hi or something like that.
Yeah, just having Bill floating in the corner.
Yeah. Well, no joke, dude. When Jane was born, completely different configuration of the room. Same room, though. Guess what?
Oh, shut up, dude.
I swear she looked at the same spot, dude.
Wow.
So I don't know what that means or what that is, but...
Well, it's definitely a demon, for sure.
God, come on. Like I said, I guess like growing up, it was more like just there's a capability potentially out there. I don't know. I kind of believed, especially when I was young, that like if I felt like there was a bad, evil presence, like if I just felt scared in the middle of the night, that I could just like say a quick prayer and sort of in a way like command that evil presence to leave.
Well, hey man,
and then I would feel better.
I mean, I gotta say that there is a track record of whether people believe or not believe, whether they're a person of faith or not. Like there is something about like speaking the name of Jesus or like it just kind of knocks it out. You know what I mean? Or it goes away. The feeling goes away, whatever. So
Hemorrhoid demons, come out!
come out. Oh, that's such a good episode.
Can I tell you real quick a little bit of what it's kind of evolved to now?
Okay, good.
In a way, or one of the things that I like, because I still don't know what to believe as far as that goes. Again, going back to the sort of the sentimental part of me, is that like, did I really hope that there's some way, like, and the reason why is like, too, it's a selfish thing. Like, if I happen to pass away before, and we're getting real morbid here, but if I did, then like, man, I really hope that I can just like be near. I don't know, man. Anyway, so there's that side of it. I also kind of think like one of the things that I've kind of become more aware of since we started this show was like this idea of multiple dimensions, like multiple dimensions or a multiverse, if you will, that is based on all of the like infinite possibilities and choices that we make and that others have made, and how like all of those can or potentially do coexist at the same time around each other. And then at some point, potentially, there's sort of like a thinning or a rift in this, whatever it is that kind of keeps those things separated.
Yeah.
And when that happens, that's when people see what they would think of as like a specter or a ghost. And I love this idea of, and I say love, I think it's just so fascinating and interesting to me that like if you see something that you think is a ghost, thinking about it on the flip side of that, being like in their world, they're seeing you, and to them, you're the ghost.
That's one of my favorite. Like I think it was on a blog post that I read or somewhere, and I'm pretty sure I've said it on the show where, like, basically this lady ends up walking in this house. I guess her mother had died, and they went in to the house to like help clean up or whatever. Well, they walk in this door that opens into the living room, and right when she gets there, she sees these two little girls sitting on the ground, and then they disappear. Well, she ends up telling someone, maybe like a cousin or something, and come to find out that cousin and her friend were actually playing a board game when they were little, and they ended up seeing what looked like a woman walk in the door and then looked scared and then disappeared. So it's like, were those timelines like merging or like overlapping? Or I love that.
It was kind of like one of our first sort of listener stories that Clay submitted.
Oh, right, yeah.
Where like almost like he saw his future self and then saw his past self kind of thing, at some point. And then like it kind of goes into that concept again since starting the show that I've now become aware of, where like when you think about places or maybe even like items or objects or something that can like store this energy.
Oh, yeah.
I
think it's called psychomanticism.
Yeah, or like it's like stone.
Well, that's kind of different. You're talking about the stone tape theory?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like
something where
that's like you're imprinting on like the atmosphere.
Oh, okay, yeah. But like the idea of like if something if you're thinking about like the Chrissy Vin episode,
yeah,
or the
what episode was that?
Season 2, episode 21, Chrissy Venn and the Ghosts of Allison Road,
or the what's the other one that we just that I did? The wasn't the Hand of Glory, was it? Maybe it was.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you did talk about Chrissy Venn.
Season 2, episode 29, The Hand of Glory.
Yeah, to where like there's almost like this unresolved, they've made countless movies about this, where like somebody feels like they're being haunted, but then like the ghost is helping them solve the crime so that like
Lady in White?
Killer. Yeah, Lady in White.
That's probably the best
What's the one with like Harrison Ford? Remember like it's the one movie where he's like, spoiler alert, he's the bad guy? Skeleton Key or something like that? Or not Skeleton Key.
Harrison Ford?
Yeah, dude, he's like this college
Oh, you mean The
professor.
Fugitive?
No, he's like a college professor. He kills this girl he's having like an affair with, I think, because she's going to tell his wife. The ghost starts to haunt the wife and then helps kind of piece together like, this murder mystery and stuff. Sometimes to me, I feel kind of gross sort of talking about that as a possibility because of how many people, unfortunately, like the people that get murdered and then that doesn't happen. And
right.
So it's kind of like, it's kind of I don't know. I feel bad, thinking about that kind of stuff. But, maybe there is something to that. I don't know.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. Like, I think, so for all you normies out there or new listeners, I don't have it in front of me, but the stone tape theory is pretty much this idea that in these times of high emotion, again, not to get super morbid, but maybe it's a suicide, maybe it's a murder, maybe it's like just these awful things that happen. It's like the idea that, we're made up of atoms and molecules, and, it's all vibrating, and we're basically made of energy. And so the idea is that in those times of high emotion or high stress level, that, heightened emotion and that energy is sort of imprinted like, old film, like, like the stone tape is basically like an old tape that's where, music or, video would be imprinted onto the tape. Mm-hmm. And so it's that idea. The only thing that I'm not sure about when it comes to that is I think there's two different camps of that. I think there's that where it's imprinted, and therefore, say I was in a house, and I was murdered. Again, not to get morbid, but say that I was murdered and I expelled all this energy into the place, and then I was in the house now, basically. So that's sort of one camp. But I think the more like sort of official way of looking at it is the other way, in which the act of whatever happening. So therefore, like, especially growing up in the 80s, it was such a big trope. I mean, at least for me as a kid, I know like all of us kids would say these stories of like, oh man, you got to go to this old house at midnight on a Thursday, and you'll literally see
the girl in the window,
or like, you go to Gettysburg on a full moon, and it is weird, man. You see these videos.
I mean, it's kind of like, dude, it's kind of like the thing that I experienced, man, which is I think in our first sort of Halloween special, when I told like my scary sort of potential ghost story.
Oh, that was definitely
on the side of the road, right? And like people will say like, essentially you have the same, different people can have the same experience, in other words, with that thing. And it, for the most part, happens in the exact same way, like it is this old recording, which now that I'm like saying this stuff out loud, man, it kind of goes back to, and not to just loop everything to previous episodes, but it kind of goes back to the freaking simulation theory.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think it's almost like if the act of me being murdered, in a way, like suddenly I corrupted the file, or I, like injected like new data into whatever scene that was. And so now that's permanently kind of fused with that scene. Or like,
I mean, I think we can all kind of agree that your file is permanently affected.
You're so stupid. Well, the interesting thing about, I'm glad you brought that up. So for all you new listeners, Woody had a situation. And what episode was that?
Season 1, Episode 10, The Halloween Spooktacular.
Basically, he was driving along. And again, this is like a pretty common thing, which sort of sheds a whole other, bit of, interest or weirdness into it. But like, there's this idea of like the ghost hitchhiker, or, and you pick up somebody and you give them a ride. And then, usually the thing is you show up to the place and you look in the back seat, or you look in the back of the truck, and they're gone. So my thing with that though, is like, it's interesting because I like the idea that that's sort of a replaying. So that is sort of maybe a stone tape type scenario. But like, how does that work? Because you drove the thing like 5 miles away from that original location. Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that, I wonder like if that is the case, if the stone tape theory is true, and this sort of phantom hitchhiker scenario that you encountered personally, which is amazing. Like,
which, dude, like I remember being on the other side of sort of this line here and thinking like that kind of stuff would never happen to me. Like, come on. And And sure, maybe it was just like some methed out weirdos in Dahlonega, Georgia. Very high probability that definitely could have been.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even talking about the people hiding in the trees, which, good Lord, don't even get me started, man.
Dude, that's a little cigarette cherry.
Oh my gosh, dude.
That gets me
I've never
every
been
time.
so scared in my life. And if you think about it, and we're kind of all over the place here,
We
but if
sure
you think
are.
about it, it's kind of like anything could have happened to me that night, man. And that young lady that I was with. And so
No, I totally agree. I think.
but let me flip the table.
Okay.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
America's future can be determined by our dreams and our visions.
It was very intense, bright light.
For over 200 years, there have been reports of giant man-like creatures.
From another dimension, another world, I don't know.
The most intriguing mystery on the North American continent.
Hey, this is Bryce Johnson from the Bigfoot Collectors Club, and you're listening to Tyler and Woody on That Would Be Rad, because that is rad.
Okay, man, let me ask you, like, you put me on the spot. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. Anything different? Like, I know we kind of agree on a lot of those things that I mentioned. Anything that kind of you feel like that I hadn't really talked about, or some theories that you have about what is a ghost, or what do you think about ghosts in general? And like, are they different then, or related to things like, what are they called? Like orbs and that kind of thing. Do spirits visit us in different, can they, I should say,
Like forms.
visit in different forms? Yeah. So like some people will see like a full, like as the Ghostbusters would say, a full, body apparition or whatever. I kind of think that maybe there are different forms. But like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you're 15 years older than I am, but we both grew up in the 80s.
Come on, man. At least, well,
Also
maybe
just
that
said
is
grewed
right.
up.
15 years, yeah, no, grewed up.
Totally
It's
deep.
something I can stand behind.
No, Woody is only 6 years older than I am.
I'm not, God.
And so,
Dude,
the
I'm 1
70s
year
a little bit
older.
with Woody, but growing up at that same time.
No, hold on just a second.
Okay.
No, the worst part is people actually believe this stuff that you just
Ooh.
make up, dude.
I've never made
But
up
you're
anything
1 year old, dude.
regarding
You gotta cut it out.
No, so, I grew up fairly conservative, went to like a little Baptist church. I'm still a person of faith, if you will. We always try to keep it clean and keep it open, and everybody has their own thing, and that's cool. But, it's interesting because I had a real rural upbringing. Take that drink. And, it was very sort of like Bible Belt, very, you die, you go to heaven or hell. And, that whole situation. And so the idea of ghosts was always like, it was weird because I fully believed in ghosts, growing up. I had, and I've said this several times too, but I had an Aunt Linda, have her name tattooed on my chest. She was ultra important to me as a kid because she was sort of the differing opinion. She was the one who was the writer. She had like every Stephen King book, loved horror movies, loved like sci-fi, and like the rest of my family was just so far away from any of that stuff. And so, she really kind of got me turned on to like ghosts and, some of those concepts. And so like, it was always this thing where it's like, I believed, okay, when you die, you go to heaven. But then there was also this other side that I fully also believed in with like ghosts and stuff. But I guess somehow I just sort of kept them partitioned away from each other, Yeah. And there is still a little bit of that because I don't totally know how it works from like a spiritual standpoint. I mean, we've talked about not necessarily that we technically or totally believe like in reincarnation, but the idea that there's too much evidence not to at least give it a second thought also. You know what I mean? So there's all these different kind of concepts and
Well, real quick on that point.
Okay.
I think one thing that is important to say on this show, even though we've said it on previous episodes, is that like I think collectively, you and I believe pretty firmly that it's okay to have a strong sort of spiritual belief, but then also have a curious mind into all of this other stuff that we talk about.
100%.
And that those two things can be independent of one another, and they don't have to. Same thing with, like, in my opinion, you can have this strong spiritual belief in whatever, and then also explore science, and that those can be like, they don't have to conflict.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you have an interest in that stuff and trying to figure out, like, what does it all mean, Basil? Like,
yeah. Well, I think if this show represents, or it can kind of be boiled down to anything, it's, hey, this is this crazy story. It's wild, but there's these pieces of evidence that kind of seem true. At the end of the day, we're like, I don't know. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's cool and honestly, I think there's a lot of this. I think part of maybe like protocol, or like sort of, if you look at our plane of existence as like a simulation theory type situation, I think there's a lot of things that we're not necessarily supposed to know. And that's even tied in, biblically, and, we can't see through the veil. And I like that. I think that's cool. And, it's weird because sometimes there's like a closed-minded approach of saying like, oh, well, you're a spiritual person, whatever. And
well, especially, dude, where we're at here in this, if you even mention a UFO, they're like,
right.
Well, they made it in the Bible.
Well, my thing is this too, even, and small example, but even as far as that goes, it's like, well,
maybe they
what was Ezekiel's wheel? What was,
and
not to get into the ancient astronaut theory and all that stuff, but it is weird to think that like you can sort of like pick and choose here and there. And I think that's a little weird. But my whole thing, and regarding that, it's like, well, if there's UFOs or if there's aliens out there, it would be in the Bible. And it's like, so you're telling me that God owes it to you as his creation to tell you everything? I think that's ridiculous. Right. I mean, you know what I mean? So anyway, growing up as a kid, I'm not really conflicted, but there were these two different sort of camps that I sort of straddled. And I definitely believed in ghosts. At the time, I believed that, they were members, loved ones and that kind of thing, like coming back and like sending you, signs and wonders and that kind of thing. But which it is weird because I still have had a few of those situations. Like, for example, like my Aunt Linda, she, like I said, was a very like peculiar lady. Like she had these like little quirks about her that were so unique to her. Like she was obsessed with like Coca-Cola. She only drank it out of cans, and she only drank it out of the little like bendy straw, which if you grew up in the 80s, I don't know where the hell she got bendy straws. It's not like Amazon,
Yeah, right.
And so like you never saw her like that. She would also eat full onions like an apple, which is disgusting. I hate onions.
No way, that's awesome.
But anyway, when we were at the hospital, when she passed away, it was a really heavy experience. I went in to see her for the last time before she passed on, which I didn't know at the time, And so I came out. I didn't want everybody to see me cry, and my whole family was like in the waiting room. So I went around to this like other waiting room, and I like sat down, was filled with emotion, sat down by myself. There was nobody over there. And I, kind of got over it, kind of composed myself. And I happened to look over, and right beside me was a Coke can with a little bendy straw. And I went to like grab it. It's ice cold, and it was completely full, like it had just been opened.
Dude.
I didn't drink it. And again, this totally could be, human pareidolia, me looking for things.
Sure.
But what are the odds of that?
No kidding, man.
And so little things like that, like definitely lead me to believe that there are like little things that our loved ones can kind of do. But I will say this, as I've gotten older, same kind of thing. I do believe in like, it's a real buzzword now, but like multiverses and, interdimensionality and that kind of thing. I definitely think that some of that can play in also. Well, this is sort of a personal thing, but I think this shows it conflicts a little bit in my mind, like I don't know where it goes. So if you also listen to the Halloween episode where we told our stories, I had an encounter when I was a kid of a shadow person. It came out of the closet. It walked across the room. It stood at the foot of my bed, and I'm pretty sure I passed out from shock because all I remember is like absolute terror, and then I just somewhere along the line fell asleep. And so there's this idea that people sort of talk about and it's kind of somewhat popular nowadays, but it's this idea that like shadow people, which a lot of people see, but it's the idea that shadow people are, sort of like looking at the veil, and it's like maybe something happening in like the next dimension over. And so you're only kind of seeing like the outline, you're only kind of seeing, you know what I mean? You're seeing sort of a blurry vision of something. But I gotta say, especially with my situation, there was a level of like absolute dread when I saw this thing, and there was definite like interaction between it. Like it felt like it was doing this. It felt like
it was doing something to you. Like
felt very like it was intentionally trying to like scare me. Like basically it sort of glides across the room, stands at the foot of my bed, and was just standing there, and like I could see its like body kind of like just kind of like shifting its weight. And it's like, why, what would be the purpose of that? If it was just someone in the next dimension, that happened to walk past a ghost kid asleep, laying in the bed or whatever. I don't know. I don't know where I stand on.
Well, here's another interesting question about that specifically. Do you think that maybe like, because it's just such a strange phenomenon and experience that no matter what, like, even if it is, let's just say like it is impossible for like evil things to visit us in that way where we see like an apparition or whatever. Do you think maybe because it's so weird and everything that we're just like, stricken with fear and have that like sleep paralysis type thing, and we just think, oh God, something bad, Well, and it's just like maybe somebody's like, hey man, maybe my aunt is just like trying, but she's, she didn't pay attention.
Well, no,
in the class up there to how to do it, and she's like, what? Uh-oh. I'm a shadow.
No, and the reason I can say that from personal experience, and again, I've probably said this more than anything else, is I had this situation as a kid or as a young adult where I saw these orbs. So I can tell you that this feeling that I had when I saw the orb situation, it was completely benevolent. It was just like a curiosity in me of like, what has happened? What is this? And yeah, it was kind of weird, like seeing this and like questioning, like, am I really seeing this? That was very, very different than this like intense feeling of dread that came with like the shadow person, which is why I think that, not to totally put all your eggs in the sort of universal theory idea of like, ghosts, shadow people, jinn, fairies, they're all the same thing. Alien grays, there's the idea that they're all kind of the same thing. And like, I think there's something interesting about that. And especially if you really do lean hard into the simulation theory, I think there is something interesting in that idea that it's just able to like, it's just changing its appearance, changing its whatever. But I will say this, the older that I've gotten, I think it's Rosemary Ellen Guiley, she got really big into the jinn, which is like, if you don't know, it's where the word genie is derived from 1001 Arabian Nights. They say that they were created, and we'll do a full episode about them. It's pretty fascinating, but it's this sort of Middle Eastern belief where they believe that these beings were created around the same time that man was created. So you had man, you had angels, and then, man was created out of clay. I think they say angels were created out of light, and then they say the jinn were created out of smokeless fire, which, again, if you look at it, like, were they talking about plasma? And then, of course, that goes back into my orb story of like, what are these little glowing, self-illuminating balls? Like, I mean, it kind of could be plasma. So anyway, it's this...
Or were they talking about, did they experience somebody that just was using electricity?
Well, maybe. But the idea that like the jinn...
Time travelers.
Well, I mean, could be. I do like the idea that sometimes shadow people could be time travelers.
Yeah.
But no, I have kind of gotten to where, for the most part, well, not for the most part, that's not fair, but like the majority of the stories that you do hear about, like that people claim, like they have like jinn encounters, are very like malevolent or really bad, like mischievous.
And so, dude, selfishly, we've got to do an episode on that because I know
it's fascinating.
Almost nothing
It's
about
amazing.
the jinn.
Well, what's really crazy to think about is there's all these stories, and this goes back to the psychomanticism, I think it's called. I could be getting it wrong, but it's the idea that like certain objects can hold these things, and that's one of the traits of like the jinn is like
the lamp, the genie in the lamp.
Yeah, exactly. But what's funny is like, so that was kind of made into like a it's very Disney-fied, and much like they do with the fairies, it's like they make it very like funny and charming, and when in reality these things are like very, very serious to these like cultures,
Yeah.
But the idea that is like they'll cause you so much harm, like physical, like it's almost like you'll get like a disease, you feel horrible. There's just like a negative energy around you, but they can be contained in like rings. Like there's all these crazy stories. Like if you really start looking into it, where these soldiers coming back from the Middle East, like Iraq and Afghanistan, and they're bringing back like, oh well, I brought this like ring, or I brought this like little wooden box home for my kid or my wife. It's like as soon as that thing's in the house, crazy stuff starts to happen. And then, is that the same thing as the Dybbuk? And so I feel like as I've gotten older, I do believe in like demons. I don't know if they're exactly like the Pilgrim's Progress, Paradise Lost type. I don't know if it's the same kind of like traditional, in the traditional sense, per se, but I think that the jinn are probably the same thing, because they all sort of have that like just intense, like dark, feeling. Yeah. And I do think the Dybbuk box, like the Dybbuk, is I think it's probably kind of the same thing,
Yeah.
But anyway, all that to say is I don't know.
Yeah, no. It's fascinating, man. I mean, like also things like I've had some family members who have had just really interesting experiences, man, that like one, somebody passes away, and I think, God, believe it or not, they actually, I think there's like an episode where something like this happened on that show Supernatural, but like
I still haven't seen that. I mean, I've seen the first one.
It's like corny and stuff, right. But it's so good.
Well, you can tell the writers like are literally
they're into it, man.
Yeah.
But like someone in my family passed away. Next thing you know, another one of my family members gets a phone call from their phone.
Dude, you got to tell the story.
Like, turned off, dude, and like
tell the story.
Well,
can you?
I don't know, man. I'll just keep it as so. Like one of my family members passed away, and they kind of had like an agreement with my other family member in that, like, hey, whenever you go to the other side, just if you can. I'm not saying, don't get into any trouble or anything, but if you can, send me a little message and let me know you're okay. Dude, that family member passes away, and that same, like, pretty much moment, dude, the phone rings, and it's the phone number of the person that's passed away. They answer the phone, they're like, hello? And it's just like, on the other end, dude.
Yeah, that's fascinating, man.
And then, of course, like the family member that's still alive and listening to this just like breaks down crying. Yeah. Kind of like talks back and says, I know you're okay. Thank you. We're okay too. That kind of thing. Boom. That was it.
Wow.
So it's like stuff like that happens, dude. And to kind of bring it back to like another personal thing, like me and my mom kind of had this like agreement where it's like, hey man, like, if, I always say this to my mom, like, if you pass away, just kind of like, and I'm different. I'm like, break the rules just a little bit and just let me know that you're, you know what I'm saying? Like, that you're okay. It's not that I fear, boy, howdy, if there's anybody that I don't think needs to worry about where they're going in the next life, my mom and dad
I agree.
are those folks, Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm worried about their souls Just take it easy. It's not that I'm worried about their like souls being damned or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, man. My family is very, very like tight knit. You know, you mentioned earlier where you didn't want your family to see you like crying and stuff. Like in my family, maybe it's the Italian side. I mean, if you're not just like if you're not like on your knees bawling and wailing, you know, then everybody's like, hey, yo, what's wrong with Woody?
Yeah. One thing that you said that I totally realized that I'd left out is when, like I said with my Aunt Linda, when she, you know, when I came out of her room and then like the Coke can and the little straw was there, I didn't realize it, but that was at the time when she physically passed on. And so like that's something that is so common, especially what you were saying like with the phone call thing, because and even like, you know, people have like dreams and stuff where they're, you know, they'll wake up and they'll be like, oh man, I dreamed that, you know, grandpa was saying bye to me. And then they come to find out that, you know, there's no way they would have had any knowledge of this, but then they find out, oh, that was the actual time that their grandfather passed away. So I think there's something really depressing to me about, and it's especially tied in with like the revenge trope or the what's the like vengeance, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
But like they're trying to like
just like the resolve, like, you know, like
they have to finish. They have like an unresolved something that they have to, you know,
something that they wanted to stand behind.
Jesus, no, but it's there's something really depressing to me about that, of people that are just kind of like stuck. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, like the idea of it just like being this continuous like cycle that they have to experience over and over and over again until, like, what was that show, dude? Like The Haunting of, you know, one of
Hill House?
Yeah, something like that, where there's just like this specter that's like reliving constantly.
But dude, that was tied into the like time and dimension.
Yeah.
Really well. That was pretty amazing.
That was wild, man.
Yeah, I like, I'm okay with, and I think I do believe that, like, I mean, even, you know, you look in the Bible, you know, when Jesus died, he rose, you know, there was like an amount of time after he came back where I think it says that he was unrecognizable to like his friends of the time. And so does that mean he was like a blurry figure? Does that mean he was made of ectoplasm? Like, I don't know, but I do think there's something to that where I think there's like an amount of time after someone passes on, you know, and you could really get into like, you know, after death.
This is going to sound real sacrilegious, and I don't mean it to. I don't mean it to sound disrespectful, but immediately whenever you said that, my mind immediately went to The Last Starfighter when the rope, like, I mean, dude, I'm sorry, man, but you know that part whenever like they leave like the robot version of the older brother, but like there's like a day or so before it like morphs into him. Like it has to take the time to like morph. Yeah. Sorry, man. I know that sounds bad. It's very,
no. But
that's it, dude. The second you said like I don't know, maybe he was there, like my mind just went flip right there. This is what I saw. Is like I think that scene from The Last Starfighter.
Well, even like these people that have these like sort of occurrences will talk about, like, you know, and again, if you guys are like totally atheist to the idea of none of this stuff ever being possible to begin with, well, I don't know what to tell you. But if you are open to a lot of this stuff and you're not just here for the talk of G.I. Joes and Last Starfighter, a lot of those accounts will talk about how, like, it's almost like they, you know, the day that my grandpa, I had a phone call and I could almost hear his voice. I could hear like breathing and it sounded just like him. And then it's almost like as the days progress, it's like it gets a little more faint than the day before, you know? So it's like this like signal is like, you know, kind of passing on.
Dude, that kind of reminds me of this other thing too. Okay, now this is kind of far out there, but you know how like you have those dreams, and we're going to talk about dreams in the future very, very soon, but
that is very,
you know how you have those dreams. Okay. Do you know how you have those dreams where you're like trying to run and you're just like, you can't, you're stuck in the muck kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine if like there's this capability once you're passed on to whatever's next, and you do have the capability to communicate, but it's kind of like that in a sense, where like you're trying to talk and like you're saying all this stuff and like, hey, it's me, I'm okay, and blah, 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 and it's coming out like, you know, like it just, you know what I'm
it's
saying?
It's like
that,
you're in Jello almost trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's really cool. I mean, a lot of the, and I always forget this guy's name, but it's the one I was telling you about, I think he was like a monk or a priest.
Okay.
Maybe he is Italian. He's done these like voice record, like radio.
Oh, yeah,
the spirit radio guy.
Marcello Bacci.
Bacci, that's it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a really fascinating guy where he had this way of like speaking through this like super old school radio, and he was able to hear. And like there's a lot of things about it that were very consistent every time. So he said that it would sound like they were really far away, and then as it kind of kept going, and there was like a humming sound always in the background, almost like, you know, these people on the other side were like trying to, I mean, basically what you were just talking about, almost like, you know, you're like fighting to get the words out, or, you know.
Yeah, man, it's wild.
Yeah. Okay, so as I've gotten older, I think that sort of optimistic view of like, oh, my loved one's passed on, and you know, they're like sending me a message. I do think that there is an element of that could be a little shady, and like, you know, whether it's jinn or demons or whatever, like taking the form of your loved ones,
of like a loved one.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's like a pretty common thing, and to me, like, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot more of that than not, you know. And I think a lot of it also has to do with, God, I know, this sucks that I haven't told the orb story, because there's so much that like
hemorrhoided demons come out.
Well, but okay, so, and I'll make this short. So the whole orb thing that happened, again, I'll eventually get into it, but I saw an orb, the very first one, and then I became like obsessed with it. And so, like I said before, I started seeing these things, and it was very benevolent, very, it felt like I'm witnessing something that years down the line is going to be figured out by science. You know, it's like, is this some sort of magnetic anomaly or some sort of plasma, you know, something. And so I became obsessed with this. I looked all over the place online, like every waking moment I was thinking about it, I was talking about it. It was really hard for me to like get over it, because, well, one, it kept happening. And so it just made it even more so. It kept going and going and going and going. And then suddenly the little benevolent orbs turned into these things that were like flashes across the room. And again, if you don't believe any of this stuff, I know it's going to sound nuts, because I would probably think it sounds nuts too if I hadn't experienced it. But it went from being like, oh, I'm fascinated with this. This has got to be almost like a scientific thing. But there's like some sort of like I feel like there's something like human or like sentient about them. You know, it's like the second they know that I can see them, they kind of just disappear into the wall. And again, we'll get into it later. But the whole point of this was to say, like, as I became like obsessed with this idea that like I was putting so much thought into it, suddenly I stopped seeing those things and I started seeing like the flashes. Now, when the flashes would happen, and this didn't happen that often, I think it was like 2 times, it was the most terrifying thing ever. And I mean that by like that, like I said before, that feeling of like absolute dread, absolute terror of like, this is not a benevolent thing. This thing, right, like I'm going to die feeling. Like so much so that I literally slept with the lights on. And I'm somebody who, I hate any light. Like I tape up, I would tape up the VCR front if I, you know.
To keep it, the flashing from keeping you awake?
Well, not even the flashing, but just to get rid of any light in the room, like when I sleep. I hate it. And literally would sleep like with all the lights on for like an entire week. So there's like another interesting aspect to this, and that is this idea that it's tied into like tulpas. And so what we're seeing are these like sort of thought forms. Are we it's almost like a self-serving like thing where, okay, say a lot of kids make up this story about, oh, if you go at this house at midnight on June 21st, you're going to see this. Well, does that thing actually start happening because all these kids suddenly start believing it and start getting like scared, and all this like emotion is like put into this thing? Does that within itself create like basically an egregore, a thought form, a tulpa, what have you? But like, is it like creating that thing? You know, it's that idea. Yeah. I think that's a fascinating idea.
Yeah, there's definitely several episodes of Supernatural that talk about that as well.
Do they ever talk about like the Philip experiment? You know what that is?
Well, here's the problem. Part of it is that I like watch it going to bed.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'll see like the beginning and I'm like, oh, man, this is... and I'm just like fall asleep. So, you know, because I mean, dude, there's like 15 years.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Seasons of this. So it's like, I don't know. Well, they probably do, but I don't know.
I'm sure they do. I mean, there's this experiment that happened in the 70s. Like some of the members of this, it was like the Toronto Parapsychological Research Society. It was back in the 70s. One guy was a mathematical geneticist. A couple members were members of like Mensa, which going back to like the Mayday mystery, you know, Mensa is like the high IQ society. So if you have like, it's like where all the smart people are in this one kind of club. So these weren't like slouches. And this group, basically, they start they create like a character called Philip Aylesford. They say he looked like this, he did this, he wore these clothes, he was known to do this, his mother died, da-da-da-da. They created a whole backstory, right? When they originally would do it, they tried it several times and nothing happened. Well, the main guy, Dr. A.R. George Owen, and psychologist Dr. Joel Witten, I think, these two, they decided, okay, well, maybe we start doing these like seances in the style of like the old, you know, turn of the century, like spiritualist movement. Maybe we like dim the lights and we light it candles and we like really start kind of like, you know, kind of putting like the TLC into it. And when they did that, they started hearing this Philip character. They started hearing his voice. They started seeing like the table move. And
look, there's some other show, I think, where some lady kind of like comes in, or maybe it's a movie where they debunk this kind of stuff. It is a movie.
They made a movie called The Quiet Ones.
I don't know. Anyhow, my point is like, dude, you could, and I'm not joking, I'll go camp in the woods to try to find Bigfoot
all day.
Whatever. I don't think there's enough money, dude. I say that, you know, hey, it's like I just would not put myself through it, dude.
Yeah.
That's just one of those things, dude. I don't want to dim the lights and do all this stuff that they did like that stuff freaks me out, man.
Well, it's just like with Ouija boards. I used to think that stuff was so cool.
You know, dude, I've never, this is God's honest truth, dude. I have 100% never, like, yes, I've been like, somebody was like, yeah, man, we're going to break this thing out. I was like, hey, guys, my mom just called, said my house
gotta go.
So I got to get out of here. I've never, ever, like, even tried to mess around with the Ouija board. It's just one of those things, dude. I cannot, like, I just don't want to be, that stuff freaks me out, dude.
Well, I used to never be scared of this stuff. I mean, I think my Aunt Linda was the first person who, like, showed me this old school Ouija board. And, like, one of the topics that we got to discuss, and it's fascinating, it's this like Zozo character. So, and this is like almost strictly associated with like Ouija boards and like doing like, some of this actually is tied into like spirit communication and like automatic writing, automatic drawing. Like I think Clay had asked before. Had I tried the automatic drawing? But it's the idea that you're trying to commune with like spirits and stuff. And the really interesting thing, and I have no notes on this, and I don't know a ton about it, so like this would actually be interesting. But I do know that there's this character that shows up in.
Holy crap!
Well, listen,
are you kidding me,
dude? Listen to this. There's this, and again, this goes back like way long ago, long before.
Hold on, before you explain it, dude. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So, like, going back to our theories and what we think about ghosts and all this kind of stuff, and how, like, well, maybe there's a way for them. I think there is probably a way for them to be able to be. You have to invite them. It's kind of like the vampire thing.
Yep.
It's like they can't physically come into your house unless you invite them in. And like, this is part of the reason, man.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and with this, I think that idea that I was talking about before, where somebody like pretending to be your loved ones and like sort of hitchhiking on, thinking like these people putting all this thought and like, oh, we want to hear more, Aunt Joanne or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, keep talking. Like, it's just kind of sneaking in, and like it's really like a demon or whatever. But I do think that idea is definitely like pretty scary. But this Zoso thing, or Zozo, I can't remember. But it's this name that just kept showing up like in all these like seances and like Ouija board sort of sessions and stuff. And like, you know, it would be people across the world who would have no communication at all. So it's like, what is this thing? Is he only able to be like conjured, or is that the name like of a demon or some sort of entity that's only able to show up like through?
Well, let me ask you this,
Ouija boards?
and this will kind of base my decision on what I do from here. If you Google the name, does that bring him around? Because if so, I'd love for you to do the research on that and let me know. But I don't really know if I want to be typing that into my computer.
I don't think so. But, well, they do say that if you talk about the jinn, they can be like welcomed, which is
good news. I didn't even say the word.
pretty creepy. Yeah, no, I think there is something to that like inviting. Well, you have to tell me I'm allowed to come in. You have to give me.
And I think that's
permission.
why, like, you know, like whenever I was growing up, you know, that kind of stuff was looked down upon by church and stuff because of that reason. It's like, dude, this is real stuff here. You start inviting that kind of presence into your house, it's going to be real hard to get it out, kind of thing.
Right.
And so that's why I don't know why, you know, that just is something that just kind of stuck with me, man. And like, I mean, sure, my beliefs have, you know, evolved and changed in a lot of different ways, but that's just the one thing that never budged. And I just I can't, dude. I don't like that.
There's another situation kind of like the Philip experiment, and kind of the same thing where this you know, paranormal group was giving this tour, and they sort of would or maybe it was like a ghost tour kind of thing, right? So they would tour this old estate kind of thing, and you know, the guides like created this character of this woman in green that, you know, you will see this woman in green and you know, she died tragically, you know, the typical kind of thing, which, by the way, I've been so turned off with ghosts since like all the ghost hunter stuff, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It just kind of like,
I mean, some of it's kind of cool.
no, it
though.
is cool. I just,
Where I get like kind of annoyed is like not see, like the ghost hunter stuff, it just depends. There's some really cool people. In fact, I think we follow like a couple here and there on our Instagram page that are like, man, it's really neat. But the stuff that really gets on my nerves is like this sort of like, okay, hey, give me my pad here, and then okay, I want to say that your friend I'm seeing a letter. First off, dude,
it's just charlatans.
You're seeing a letter, you're seeing the person, and if you can't see the person, you're only seeing a letter, you're fake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of my thing. But the reverse of that is like, what I'm saying is like they made this woman in green. Well, the weird thing is like they progressively started getting these accounts when they wouldn't even tell. Like, I guess they did it for a while, you know, and then they stopped. Kind of like the monk story with the Tulpa situation with the woman when she visited the monastery that we talked about. But like they started seeing they had sort of manifested this like character that was like a thought form. It was alive. So I wonder how much of that, you know, kind of plays into the idea of ghost and hauntings and stuff. Also, why are they all wearing Victorian clothes?
Yeah, I don't know. The good news is whenever I saw the hitchhiker, they weren't wearing Victorian clothes. Now, real quick, we kind of talked like there are a ton of movies about this kind of stuff, and some of the stuff, like, again, I don't really go after, I don't really have a huge interest in like demonic possession movies and like weird stuff coming out of their mouth. Gross. But some of the sort of like haunting movies, like The Orphanage.
Oh, that's the best.
Remember that? Dude.
The best.
Guillermo del Toro. And the movie that I was trying to think of, now I haven't watched it, so I have no idea if it's good or bad or whatever, but it's got this lady, Rebecca Hall, who was in that movie that I think I texted you about over the weekend. I don't think we talked about it on the show, but this movie called The Night House. Did we talk about it on the show?
I don't think we talked. No. We just talked about it.
I just randomly saw that some like, I think it was like a Friday night or something. Me and Anne were on the couch and she was just like, I mean, I'll just look down if it gets too scary. Dude, that movie, I loved that movie. It was super weird.
And that's a perfect example of what we're talking about.
Yeah. That like weird sort of
like communicating.
Yes, exactly, dude. And man, it's creepy as heck, but with a cool twist and everything. But no, she was in this movie called The Awakening, and I want to say either Clay or Julie or one of our listeners told us about it, and I haven't seen it yet. But the premise essentially is this lady, I think it's like World War I England or something. She gets invited to come see, kind of investigate what's going on in this like boarding school or something, because this child's ghost is appearing, and she is kind of known for exposing like hoaxes and stuff. Like, so in the trailer it shows like this seance happening, and she just like and she's like, oh, okay, and then she like pulls back this curtain and finds like where the person was doing something or whatever it is. And so
which is, by the way, what Houdini went on to do, which is awesome.
Yeah, super awesome. Anyhow, we're getting a little long in the tooth.
We sure are. That was a big lead in, and then just a fizzle right
Well, no,
out.
I was just sorry. I mean, there's like some cool movies that I think are kind of cool with that like haunting sort of vibe that are interesting, that go beyond sort of just like, I don't know, it was a ghost. It's in the house. We must leave. Those are kind of fun and thrilling too. But I always like it when there's like Night House is a perfect example of a movie that is weird. I mean, it is pretty heavy, man, but it's super interesting, dude. That ending, dude, I did not expect at all. So I recommend it's on HBO.
Cool. There is a lot of sort of ghost stories that I really want to cover. That the Bell Witch is one that's really fascinating.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And it kind of ties into stuff, you know, for us, we're a little bit of contrarians in a way, if you will. Like, we always like the songs on the B-side. We like, you know, the cryptids that aren't quite your A-list, that nobody's ever heard of. We've always kind of gravitated to that kind of thing. And so we like these sort of ghost stories, if you will, that are kind of different, like the Bell Witch, you know. And again, we'll have, it could be a two-parter because it's pretty in-depth, but like this idea that maybe it's not just a ghost, maybe it's like an elemental or some sort of like spirit of the land even, that's more sort of ancient than just somebody died and they're pissed and they're rapping on the table or whatever. But yeah, dude, I'm super glad that I derailed this episode. Yeah. I think it was insightful. Yeah, it was a good time talking to my buddy about what he thinks about ghosts. And I'm super psyched that we did this.
Yeah, me too, man. Like, it's super interesting to dive into topics like this, and we haven't had a chance to yet. So
yeah,
it was perfect.
For sure. If you guys out there have any ghost stories, or, you know, like we always say, urban legends in your area, very, you know, anything sort of localized, feel free to shoot it to us. We would love to hear them. You can find us over on Instagram. Shoot us a DM. Leave some stuff in the comment section. Your favorite ghost stories that maybe we've never heard. If it's more long form and you want to tell us, which would be even better, send it over to thatwouldberadpod@gmail.com. And I guess that's about it. Buy us a coffee, buy some merch. All that stuff is in our link tree. There will be some new merch coming out for our second annual Camp Rad Strangeness that's coming up soon. We're psyched about that. And you got anything else?
Well, that's it, man.
Cool, dude. Well, we love you. We appreciate you. And as always,
be rad.
That's the way it goes. Favorite song on the radio that's only playing sad songs. time where I just needed some sunshine. You were already dead before you became a ghost. You always said our future would be a parade of flowers, but now all that's left is a single rose. That's the way it goes.
Man, I love when I tell my nanny, hey, I'm recording a podcast, and then there's the most fucking banging, like putting dishes away, throwing shit around. It's like, God dang it.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude.
I just want to put some pencil and paper.
All right, man. I'm gonna press stop, and then I gotta run.
Cool, dude. Man, great episode. Seriously, dude.
No, man, for real. I'm glad you sprung that on me.
Yeah, it feels
man, maybe we can do that more often.
We're pretty smart guys. Just to be able to like
if our memory needs it, we can recall like a word such as like, stand behind something.
You couldn't think of the word sentimental.
Yeah, no, and I kept on calling it dude, I'm starting to turn to my mother.
Yeah, dude, me too, man. I also, dude, I think since like COVID, I'm still not.
Dude, 100%.
I'm not back.
Dude, I'm not joking, like work-wise.
Mm-hmm.
No shit, dude. The amount of time that it takes me to do what it used to do,
Same.
like it is like that. Like imagine like I used to operate at about like a 9.5, 10.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give you some like numerical reference here, I'm at about a 1.5 at this point. I'm not joking.
I'm so easily distracted now too.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah, it's weird.
Dude, what about those Stranger Things style? I mean, these people get me, dude.
Dude, we didn't
hear
even
about
talk
tragedy?
about it. It comes on this Friday.
Dude, listen to me, man. We're leaving for fucking Michigan Friday morning. Listen what comes out on Friday. Just listen to this.
What else?
Stranger Things 4. Top Gun. Ever heard of it?
Yeah, dude.
And also, wait for it, Obi-Wan. 2 episodes.
Oh, my
2 episodes come out on
God.
Friday of Obi-Wan.
And there's only 6, right?
I don't know.
Which, by the way, we haven't even talked about me finally seeing that trailer. Dude.
Oh, man. Talk about it, dude.
Holy cow. It looks amazing.
Man, alive, man. And then also...
although I haven't seen any trailers for Stranger Things.
Yeah, they're... Oh, yeah. I have.
Have you?
It's like short teaser.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen like a quick...
There's like a crazy looking monster, dude. And it's like they're all like... Dude, they're so much older, man. It's so weird to see these kids like all grown up.
And they're all like... But in this one, I feel like I read something where they're all spread out.
Yeah, because remember the last season, well, I think they're spread out at first, bro. They're going to come back together. Yeah. Remember the last season, like, Eleven and Will and his mom move.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And then...
how cool is Steve, dude?
Oh, he's the best.
And the best thing about that whole thing was he was supposed to get killed off in the first season.
Yeah, and it's
and like that kid was so charismatic in that character that they're like, dude, we got to have you on.
Well,
and
it's
then,
the
like,
perfect character arc because he was a bad guy. He was the asshole.
Yes, dude. And he was like the classic 80s villain kind of ass. And then he ends up being like, dude, I love that character.
Dude, when he shows up with the bat, with like the nail, it was like,
nails, dude,
yes,
come
dude.
on. I'm not joking. There's like a few writers in our lifetime that I feel like have gotten it perfect.
Yeah.
They are one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kevin Laird and Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird are the others.
I think J.J. Abrams
Rereading,
is there too.
Yes. But rereading these dang Ninja Turtles issues, dude, and then the annotations at the end. I'm not joking, dude.
I don't have any of that stuff.
Dude, 100% worth the purchase because it reminds me of like the way we work, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like reading through their memories of that at all is like, dude, these are two dudes that have that same kind of like rare sort of bond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Even though I think they kind of ended, I think they kind of like
probably not good.
Split, which is really sad.
It's probably going to happen to us. Yeah.
Well, and the thing that sucks, I think one of them like sold a bunch of like the rights.
Hey guys, welcome to our newest favorite segment called The After Show, where we talk about even more random stuff like this.
Dude, that was amazing. That's exactly what we should do,
pal. Yeah, so what happened now? I'm sure it was like a rights issue, man. That's the thing that sucks the most about working like that. But like you and I, dude, have like, I don't know. I feel like because they had such humongous success so fast, they kind of had to figure it all out. I feel like we've had such slow success that we figured all that stuff out. I can really not wrong. Which is the best clip ever.
It really is. Oh, I got to watch the new Thor trailer.
Dude, you got to watch the new Thor trailer.
Although, listen, here's one thing that I do want to say.
Don't talk trash about Natalie Portman,
God,
dude.
that's exactly what I was going to do.
Hold on, you know what you're going to do? Nope, you're going to watch it right now.
Okay, let's do that. This is in real time, folks.
This is in real time, dude. Hold on. You tell me when to press play.
Okay.
Hold on.
Am I doing it?
Thor Love and Thunder, new trailer. Okay. Hold on, I got this ad playing first.
Dude, YouTube has gotten so...
Hey, man, I have a YouTube channel, and I love it. 3, 2, 1, play this thing. Ready? 3, 2, 1, play.
Let me tell you the story of the space Viking. He was no ordinary man.
Oh, Taika Waititi's another guy that gets it.
After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. When he got in shape, he went from dad bod to god bod. And after all that, he reclaimed his title as the one and only Thor. Oh, spoke too soon. Jane?
Oh, he's got the helmet on.
Yes, dude.
The old ex-girlfriend.
What's it been like? 3?
I mean, she does look good.
8 years, 7 months, and 6 days, give or take.
I just hated her acting.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. The only ones who gods care about
Ooh, who's the bad guy here?
is themselves.
Oh. Is that Christian Bale? Oh, yeah, it is. Yep. Damn. That looks awesome.
Very, very impressive what you did back there.
It's just my first
How sick is that?
Yeah, it really does look pretty amazing.
Unlike the other gods of kill, you got something worth fighting for.
Just wait.
Let's see who you are and take off your disguise. And flick. Oh, flick too hard, damn it!
Should we help him? Eventually, right?
Oh, that's amazing.
Dude, how sick does that look, man?
I mean, I was about to talk so much shit about Natalie Portman because...
I think Taika Waititi or whatever, I think he fixed it, dude.
Yeah, I think it was a director thing because I've liked her in the past.
Yeah.
But boy, was she boring as
really
all hell.
liked her.
Huh?
I really liked her.
I know you did. All right, pal, we got to get out of here.
I know, man. But you know, sometimes I just...
Okay,
Hey, man.
I'm cool with just
I
hanging
miss
out.
you, man. I miss your musk.
I miss your musk.
Oh, dude, hold on. Before we go, I'm sure Woodrow's seen this already, but we're gonna rewatch it.
And an
just 'cause
efficient
I mean,
way of saying whatever you're going to say.
Sorry?
It just took a minute.
Well,
minute.
I mean, you know what slows... Yeah, but you know what's funny is if it's taken too long already, one thing to sure as hell slow it down is to just interrupt it. No, we are going to watch tonight, school's almost out, we are going to do...
Oh, cool. My daughter's home, so she has to ring the fucking doorbell 50 times.
Bring, bong, bring, bong, bring, bong. Hey, Mom, just make sure it works. No, we're going to watch the original Ninja Turtles movie, dude.
Ooh. Although...
So good, dude. No, dude, it's fine. I watched the first, 30 minutes.
Language is
earlier
okay?
today. It's not that bad. It's like a damn...
Well, for my 3-year-old, I got to...
Yeah, it's too much for the 3-year-old. But for an almost 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, it's good. Dude, okay.
No, that's exciting.
It's so good, dude. It's so good. And I think I'm just on a huge Ninja Turtles kick.
Well, you know what? I think I maybe even have 2 Ninja Turtles on this recent commission list. So I actually may jump on that now just because I'm kind of getting into it.
Inspired?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude.
I'll tell you one thing. My favorite Ninja Turtles are the black and white ones from the comics. They're awesome.
So gritty, man.
Yeah.
So cool.
Now, do you have the one... So I have the
Casey Jones.
No, well, I have the
Raphael one shot.
I don't know. I have the one that was it's sort of broken up into. It's from First Comics, came out in the 80s, but it's they're like little trades, I guess, sort of thing, and I guess they collect the single issues. I'm not totally.
I don't know. I don't have that. This one's just called the Ultimate Collection. It's this huge, thick, dude, I don't even 600 page. I mean, it's nuts.
Does it have it when I think it's Leonardo gets really beat up bad.
They all do, man. It's so much grittier than I remember, man.
Yeah.
And also something that's different is April. First off, you don't know her last name yet. It's just April. And she actually works for this evil scientist who created the Mousers.
But I thought she worked for
she
Baxter
programmed them.
Stockman.
I think that's his name. Yeah. And, she escapes and everything. So, there's a lot that's different from what I remembered, man. But, God, it's so good, dude. And then, again, reading the annotations, man, when they talk about how, first off, dude, both of them would work on the page.
Yeah.
So, one would, they would both add their flavor to it.
And, they're both, totally different styled artists, but, they're both amazing.
Yeah, dude. And but it's amazing, but at the same time, like I said, I think on our Instagram post, dude, it's it's not if I was a little kid and I saw your drawings, I'd be like, man, that's cool that somebody could do that. And someday maybe I can. With this stuff, it's oh, dude, I could do that.
Yeah, right.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. I hope you don't think that, I mean, it's just it was so accessible early on that it inspired me and my friends overseas to man, let's start making our own comics and stuff. Yeah, dude, and then it's a good entry sort of point to start practicing drawing and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I still, and this is strictly from just muscle memory. I could probably close my eyes and draw a Ninja Turtle bust, the head, neck, shell. Just from complete memory. And I mean, it looks so silly, but it's it's the cartoon sort of version, but it's it's such an iconic look. But man, those black and white ones are, apparently they self-published the first issue.
Yep. Dude, they self-published the first, man, I don't even know. The first couple, dude. They only printed 3,000.
Yeah, that's right.
They essentially used every bit of money they had and borrowed some from one of their uncles to self-publish. Sounds like their first album.
Yeah, exactly.
And to self-publish it, dude. It sold out so quick, and people are like, "Where's issue number 2? Where's issue number 2?" In the meantime, they, I guess, republished, and it's just so cool to see how they're inspired by the double page spreads of Jack Kirby.
Oh yeah.
And how they would model certain things based on that. And then oh dude, it's just so good, man.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool to revisit that after, dude, I've not read these in, God, man, I mean, at least 30 years.
Yeah. Dude, what about when Casey Jones, there's one panel I remember where I think it's a big splash page, but there's a like an area on the far left where you see him like his face is covered by a hood, and then there's like the panel below it where he like it shows him pull back the cloak, and you see like the two baseball bats, and they're all beat up and taped up. And then
and there's like the hockey
or maybe
stick, man, where it's
maybe
like
the
taped
hockey
up on the
stick.
it's like taped up on the like the blade of the hockey stick.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
he was no kidding, dude. He was dude, Michelangelo. All of the Ninja Turtles were my favorite.
Oh, Casey was.
He is one of the coolest freaking characters, dude, of all time. And I loved. It's even more like in the movie. You know how they make it like Raphael's like hot tempered. He meets Casey, and it's a little like kind of out of the gate. They're kind of like, yes, they're fighting, but it's still kind of lighthearted. In the book, dude, it's like Raphael has this huge explosion where he's like sparring with Michelangelo and takes it too far and almost like could have killed him kind of thing. And he kind of like busts out of there, leaves, and he's kind of like running through the city, kind of like they do in the movie. You know, he's like kind of pissed off or whatever. And he sees Casey Jones, and Casey Jones is like nearly like killing these thugs just for like robbing a convenience store.
I don't know that I've read this.
Yeah, dude. This is on the Raphael one shot, so they include it in this collection.
Is it new or old?
No, same time period. It came in between issues like 2 and 3 or 3 and 4.
Real quick, sorry. Is this the one where, like I'm talking about, the big spray? I think he says like, I don't know why I remember this, but he says like Goongala, and he's like reared back, and he's like in a thrift store, and he has like the hockey sticks pulled back, and there's like. It's like a huge splash, and it's like a thrift store with like all the ninjas.
No, I haven't gotten to that point yet. No, because right now he's just kind of Raphael and him meet, and Raphael essentially like in the annotations, dude, they talk about this, and it's just such a good writing moment here. They basically talk about how Raphael's this hot-headed guy, and sometimes they say like I think it's like. Eastman who says like, sometimes the best thing that somebody can do is kind of like look in the mirror and see like a version of themselves in order for them to like grow,
yeah.
And so like Raphael sees kind of this hot-tempered dude that's just taking it too far. And because of that, he like has that realization, and then he and Casey fight, and they said that they wanted to model this whole, like I think Laird was saying that like, this is like his fantasy. He just wanted this like huge, like multiple pages of like 20 panels of fighting, basically.
Yeah, right.
And like
it is action
huge fight scene. Yeah. And then like at the end, he wanted it kind of be like sort of like one of those old, like, I don't know, like I don't remember what movie he referenced, but where like the two people who were fighting, they were so worn out they couldn't fight each other anymore, but had this new respect for one another. And at the very last, like sort of like last part of the comic, it's like them being like, man, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, you can't, you don't need to, kill somebody just because they, whatever. And then they hear somebody being robbed, and they're like, well, what should we do then, hero? That's like Casey Jones' attitude. Yeah. And Raphael's like, well, I don't know. We better do something about it. We just can't, I'll just keep my eye on it. He's like, lead the way. And then like they become best friends at that moment. And it's just so freaking cool.
Yeah,
dude.
That's awesome. Dude, what about, have you read Battling Boy yet?
No, I'm saving it for the trip.
It's awesome.
I can't wait.
I mean, I kind of wish you would read it with Woodrow.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to let him read it on his own.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just because, like, I don't know. And he, he's in that stage sometimes where, like, if I think something cool, he's gonna be like, yeah, it's really cool. But like, if he thinks something's cool and he shows it to me, he's like super excited. Like, what's that show that I was talking to you about?
Dude, you got to pull the old trick where you like leave it out and then let him look at it and ask you, hey, Dad, what's this? And be like, I don't know. Tyler told me it was something cool. I haven't read it yet. And you want to read it first?
I just wonder if like the art is going to be like too weird. Like,
I don't think it's weird. I mean, Pope is like the best.
Dude, he's just so cool. It's unique as heck, man.
Because it's so bright. I think it'll still feel like a, accessible.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
All right, dude. I've got to get out of here, bro.
Yeah, no, me too, man. Well,
perfect episode.
Hopefully everybody liked the after show.
I know I did.